929 words, within the 5% tolerance target 900, so up to 945. Here's the script. In 2013, Theranos secretly began faking its own product DMOS, feeding investors and Walgreens executives preloaded results because the real machine failed most of the time it ran. By 2015, that same machine was drawing blood from real patients in more than 40 stores, and some of those results were dangerously wrong. So why did the executive who approved the fake DMOS get promoted instead of fired? To the world, Theranos looked like a miracle. Elizabeth Holmes was the college dropout who was going to fix healthcare with a single drop of blood. No needles, no labs, no waiting days for results, just a finger prick and answers in minutes, cheap enough for anyone. She wore black turtlenecks, dropped her voice an octave, and stood on stages next to Bill Clinton and Joe Biden. Investors handed her a company valued at $9 billion. Walgreens signed a nationwide partnership. Magazine covers called her the next Steve Jobs. Nobody outside a small circle knew the machine barely worked. Inside the company, the truth looked nothing like the pitch. The device, nicknamed Edison, could reliably run only a handful of tests, nowhere near the 200+ Theranos advertised. So when investors, journalists, or partners came in for a live demonstration, employees quietly switched the process. Blood went into the Edison machine on camera, but the actual analysis often ran on a modified commercial machine bought from a competitor, Siemens, and diluted to work with tiny fingerprick samples it was never designed for. Sometimes the results shown weren't even live. They were pulled from a prior run and displayed to look real-time. This wasn't a rogue lab tech improvising. Former employees later testified that Holmes and her second-in-command, Sunny Balwani, signed off on the workaround. Meetings were held specifically to plan which DMOS needed it. By late 2013, faking a blood test result had become standard operating procedure at a company valued in the billions. Inside the lab, scientists raised alarms. One of them, Tyler Schultz, grandson of former Secretary of State George Shultz, a Theranos board member, flagged accuracy problems directly to leadership in 2014. He was told he didn't understand the technology. Another employee, Erica Cheung, watched proficiency tests get manipulated to hide failure rates from regulators. Both eventually went to the Wall Street Journal. But before that story broke, the company's own board, stacked with former secretaries of state, senators, and four-star generals, never once demanded to see the machine actually work. They lent their names and their trust. Nobody with the power to stop it asked the one question that mattered. Had anyone outside this building verified the science? Here's the part that never made the headlines the way it should have. Once Theranos started running tests on real patients inside Walgreens stores in 2013, the gap between the demo and reality became a medical problem, not just a business one. Patients got results for things like potassium levels, thyroid function, and pregnancy hormones that were flat-out inaccurate. Results that in some cases told people they might be having a miscarriage, or that they had a serious heart condition, when they didn't. Doctors made treatment decisions based on numbers generated by a machine the company knew couldn't be trusted at scale. Internal records later showed Theranos ran the vast majority of its consumer tests, well over half, on modified third-party machines, not the revolutionary device on every billboard. When regulators finally inspected the lab in 2015, they found conditions so unsafe patients were, in their own words, in immediate jeopardy. By the time Theranos voided or corrected nearly 1 million blood test results in 2016, real people had already made real medical decisions on fake data. And here's the callback. The same fake demo that impressed Walgreens executives in a conference room in 2013 is the direct reason those Walgreens customers were handed wrong results 2 years later. The fake never stayed contained to a pitch meeting. It walked straight into people's bodies. Elizabeth Holmes and Sunny Balwani were eventually convicted of fraud. Holmes is serving over 11 years. That part people remember. What most people don't know is that the board that enabled it walked away clean. General James Mattis, who sat on the Theranos board and personally vouched for the technology to Pentagon officials, went on to become Secretary of Defense. Not one board member faced a fine, a lawsuit, or even a formal reprimand for failing to verify a product they publicly championed for years. The venture capital firms that skipped standard due diligence because they didn't want to seem like they doubted the mission kept raising new funds the following year. The system that let unverified science reach patients through a retail pharmacy chain is still the same system. Nothing in the regulatory pathway that let this happen has actually changed. So the next time a health startup shows you a slick demo, a confident founder, and a board full of famous names, ask yourself what Tyler Schultz and Erica Chung had to ask in an empty parking lot in 2014. Has anyone outside this room actually seen it work? Theranos got caught because 2 junior employees risked everything to leak it. Most companies faking a demo never get a Wall Street Journal reporter on the phone. The lab is gone. The board that missed it is still respected. And the question of how many other health products are quietly running the same play right now, nobody's answered that yet.